Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Avid Tech Talk webcast series. These sessions were created for Avid customers and partners who administer, design, use, and implement Avid products. The sessions were also created to help you be more successful with the use and deployment of our products. Today's session will focus on Sibelius, and we'll be providing you with tips on how to get started with PhotoScore Lite. This is a really great application, and I'm really excited that we've got this presentation happening today. Today's session is a live webcast presentation. The session is purposely designed without polished marketing content. Instead, the sessions are less formal, and they're focused on providing participants with technical content and as much demonstration time as possible. I'm Vicki Moreno, Senior Director of Customer Care here at Avid, and I'll be the host of today's session. Today's technical content will be presented by Tom Betts and John Manning, two of my amazing colleagues here at Avid. Tom's been with Avid for 15 years, and during that time, he's been dedicated to providing support for the Sibelius product line. Tom is really our internal Sibelius guru on the support side, and he's what we call here the product champion for Sibelius. Tom and John are both musicians. Prior to joining Avid, Tom worked as a private music instructor and also as a composer. Tom plays multiple instruments, primarily trombone and euphonium. He also plays the piano and guitar when he's got a little bit of extra time for that. John Manning will be co-presenting, and he's an Avid technical support specialist focused on Sibelius. And prior to working with Avid, John worked as an audio engineer, creating radio spots, commercials, and other music productions for a variety of genres. John is also a musician. He plays the guitar, electric bass, and also creates MIDI arrangements. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Tom and John.
Thank you, Vicki. Well, let's get right into it. In today's session, we're going to take a look at what PhotoScore is and what it can be used for. We're going to mainly concentrate on PhotoScore Lite, and we'll discuss the limitations of the Lite version versus PhotoScore Ultimate. We'll learn to set up the preferences to get the best results, and we'll go through the basic operations and editing process within PhotoScore. And finally, we'll go through the process of sending an edited score to Sibelius. So what is this thing called PhotoScore? Well, it's a software program that's designed to take a graphic image of a piece of music and convert it into a format that can then be imported into Sibelius. Essentially, it analyzes the dark versus light blobs in the image and tries to make musical sense out of them. You can think of it as OCR, or optical character recognition, for music. Okay, you might ask yourself, well, why would I want to take a piece of printed sheet music and convert it into a Sibelius score? Well, I can think of a few ideas, and you can probably think of a few more. You might have a set of parts and want to create a score out of them for the conductor to use, or even to just hear it played back through Sibelius. Another thing that you might want to do is extract a part from a score. This can come in quite handy in schools where the loss of parts is a frequent occurrence. You might want to change the transposition of a part so that a different instrument can be used for playback based on the instrumentation that you have available. Another thing that you might want to do is change the appearance, or probably more importantly, the formatting of the music. Can be especially handy if there's an awkward page turn, for example. And you could use the printed sheet music as a starting point for a new arrangement of the music. So those are some things that you could use PhotoScore for, and I'm sure you can think of other applications as well. Now, today, for simplicity, we're going to concentrate mainly on PhotoScore Lite, which is a feature-limited free version that comes with Sibelius. There's another version of PhotoScore called PhotoScore Ultimate that's a separate purchase and is full-featured. Whenever you start PhotoScore Lite up, you're presented with this splash screen, which I put on the slide here so it's a little easier to see, that discusses what PhotoScore Lite doesn't do that PhotoScore Ultimate will do. And the basic limitations are PhotoScore Lite doesn't interpret text elements, so things like dynamics, chord symbols, lyrics, titles aren't going to show up, as well as lines like slurs and hairpins. Also, repeat bar lines and endings won't be interpreted. However, these can be added after the reading process, so it's not too bad of a limitation. PhotoScore Lite is limited to only 12 staves per page, which is going to limit the type of scores that you can work with. However, if all you're doing are piano charts or small ensembles, the Lite version may be all you need. If you get using the Lite version and would like to look at more of the features in the Ultimate version, there is a PhotoScore Ultimate demo available on the Sibelius website. So let's get out of the slides and jump into the program, and we'll do a little exploring of PhotoScore Lite and how it works. Whenever you launch PhotoScore Lite, you'll get the splash screen with the differences and features. And if you don't want to see that every time, you can just uncheck this box, show this next time. Whenever you open PhotoScore Lite or PhotoScore Ultimate for the first time, the first thing that you're going to want to do is set some of the preferences in order to get the best results. And you'll find the preferences under the File menu, Preferences. And with the Lite version, we're only going to concentrate on the Scanning tab. First thing we want to do is down at the bottom under Automation, make sure that Read Pages After Scanning/Opening is unmarked. The reason that we want to do this is so that we have an opportunity to see how PhotoScore did with detecting the staves. And it'll give us a chance to do some editing before it automatically reads the page. Up at the top here, under Interface, we can choose to use either PhotoScore's interface or your scanner's Twain interface. If your scanner works well with the PhotoScore interface, I would encourage you to use it because it really is a nice, simple interface. And let's just take a look at that real quick. If I go over to Scan Pages here on the left, this is what PhotoScore's scanning interface looks like. And basically, you can set the resolution based on the width of the staves in your score. You can also set a custom scanning size. As a general tip, whether you're scanning through PhotoScore's interface or your scanner's interface, 300 dots per inch seems to be a nice resolution to work with. Seems to work on most scores. Now, I'm not going to use this interface. In fact, I'm not actually going to scan anything today. I'm just going to work with PDFs so that we don't take time waiting for the scanner to warm up. Okay, so I'll cancel this. Let's go back to the preferences, and under the Scanning tab, if you choose Twain, which will use your scanner's drivers, you want to make sure that your scanner is selected. Now, what would you do if your scanner happened not to appear in here? Don't panic. It's actually a pretty easy problem to solve. In some cases, the drivers that certain scanners use aren't compatible within PhotoScore. So what you would do in that case is you would use your scanner software to scan the file, and then save it either in PDF format or TIFF format, which can then be opened directly in PhotoScore. I'm going to just click OK here. And let's take a look at the PhotoScore interface and get started on our first project. Over on the left-hand side in PhotoScore, we've got two sections. We've got pending pages and read pages. So I'm going to go up here to Open PDFs, and I'm going to grab this PDF for Tiger Rag. Click Open. Whenever you're opening a PDF in PhotoScore, it will allow you to select which pages you're interested in. This can be kind of handy if the score has a cover sheet, for example. You can skip that. Or if it's a set of parts like this is, you can just pick which parts that you want to work with. And in this case, we just want to work with the first page. So I'm going to change that to page 1. Click OK. So after you've opened your PDF, it's going to appear here in Pending Pages. And if you hover your cursor over the name of the score, Tiger Rag, you'll see a preview of the scanned image. And if you click on it, it will appear in the right side, and PhotoScore will try and detect the staves. And in this case, it's detected all the staves except the first system. And this is why, in Preferences, we went in and unmarked the read pages immediately after scanning. If we hadn't done this, PhotoScore would have went ahead and read this as is, and we'd be missing the first system. So, PhotoScore hasn't detected the first system. Well, we can go up here and try locate staves again and see if it might happen to pick it up, and it still doesn't. So, in order to manually detect these staves, what we're going to do is click on one of the systems that was detected to select it. See here it's in a slightly darker blue. And in that condition, if we hold down the Alt key on Windows or the Option key on Mac and click into the system that was not detected, that will paste the staff up there. Okay, so we've got it here, but we're not quite done yet. We see here in red it says may require manual adjustment. That means it's up there, but it really hasn't lined up with the lines in the staff just yet. Now you see here we have two control points in the middle, a square at the bottom and a circle at the top. And what you want to do is click and drag to try to line the staves up with the lines in the graphic image. And whenever you reach that point, you'll actually get an aligned. If I can get that back. No, you'll get a green aligned message, and your red may need adjustment will disappear. And you'll see it changes to a darker blue when selected. So now that we've got all our systems selected, the next step in the process is to actually read the page. And that's done up in the toolbar here by clicking Read This Page. So PhotoScore is now analyzing the graphic and trying to make musical sense out of it. And when it's done with that process, the file is moved from pending pages down to the red pages section on the left. Once again, if we hover our cursor over there, we get a little preview that contains both the graphic image and the red image. So our graphic image is still here, and this is PhotoScore's interpretation of it. So our next step in the process is to do some editing. On most scores, PhotoScore will make a few mistakes that you'll need to correct. Now, editing in PhotoScore is pretty easy. It's nice. It gives you a representation of the graphic up at the top. And over here on the right-hand side, there's a scalable window that shows you where you're at in the score. And you can use that as a very good guideline. So up here in the first system, we'll see that it missed the 4-bar multi-rest, and it's also missed the double bar line at the end, which isn't a real surprise considering it's kind of distorted there. So most of the editing functions within PhotoScore are very similar to editing in Sibelius, and the Create menu is really where we'll find most of the items. So in this case, first thing we want to do is stick the bar line in there at the end. Bar line, and we've got a number of bar line choices. In this case, it's going to be a double bar line. And see, our cursor is charged and it's blue. So that means it's ready to insert something. And we'll click here at the very end. And you'll see that the problem that was marked in bar number 2 has disappeared, but now we've got a little blue note above that double bar line we just inserted. And the reason for that is it's telling us that there's a timing error in this bar. So the number of beats in the bar isn't adding up. And you'll see here we've got a stray dotted half note and we've got some stray rests. So let's just remove those since we really want to put a multi-rest in here. And now we can go up to the Create menu again, and we want to select bar rest, multi-rest. And the number of bars in this case is 4. Click OK. Once again, our cursor's charged. It's changed to blue, and we can just click into this system to insert our 4-bar multi-rest. Now notice here that the 4-bar multi-rest isn't formatted very well. It's extending over here into the key signature and time signature. We don't worry about this. The formatting strangeness in PhotoScore isn't a real concern because when we send the file over to Sibelius, it will handle all the formatting details. So it'll save us some time if we just don't worry about it. So let's look down through this score and see if there's anything else that needs to be edited. And PhotoScore is very nice about pointing out problems. We see that we've got the dotted red line here and the blue note above the bar line that's telling us we have too many beats in the bar. This is plus a half note. And the reason for that is somewhat obvious here. We've got what should be a whole note mistakenly interpreted as a dotted whole note. Rhythm dots either being added or not added is a very common mistake that PhotoScore will make. So it's something you always look for. In this case, it's very easy to correct. Over here on the far right, we've got a keypad, very much like the keypad that's in Sibelius. And we can simply select the dotted whole note and take the rhythm dot off by clicking. And since we're here and there's a tie, we may as well insert that tie as well. And we won't worry about the tie direction. That'll be fixed in Sibelius as well. Now, I can go to these other 2 whole notes that are exactly the same problem. And you'll find in PhotoScore this is a common occurrence where it will misinterpret one rhythmic pattern, and then if that pattern repeats later on, you end up with the same mistake. So it's the way to look at it is really only one air being reproduced throughout the music. So here we can do the same editing trick. Okay, and so now we can look through the score. We don't see any more red lines or blue notes, so I think we're good. So once you've taken your image, read it in PhotoScore, edited any mistakes. Now it's time to send it to Sibelius. And there's two places you can do this. Up in the toolbar, we've got the Send to Sibelius icon, or we can go over to File, Send to, select Sibelius. Now, when we do this, we're presented with this dialog. Whenever you're using PhotoScore Lite, you don't want to let Sibelius choose the instruments. And the reason for this is because there's no text in PhotoScore Lite, Sibelius won't know what instrument to assign. And you'll end up with an unnamed 5-line staff, which will play back with piano, which may be perfectly acceptable. But I always like to select Choose Instruments. And so we can click OK. Something's unhappy. Bear with me for a second here. Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. Welcome to live presentation. So this is opened up in Sibelius, and I'm not exactly sure what happened, but we can take a real quick look and see what instrument Sibelius has chosen. And here we have unnamed treble staff, which I sort of expected. But now that the score has been brought into Sibelius, it's a living, breathing score. You can move notes around, you can edit, you can add notes, pretty much do anything that you want. Play it back. Now, one important tip is once you've brought it into Sibelius is to actually go to File, Save As. And you'll see here it's called transfer.sib. Probably not a real descriptive name. So you want to change that to, say, Tiger Rag. And save it to it's going to save into the Neurotron Music Pages folder by default. And normally you wouldn't want to do that. You'd want to go to your Documents, Scores folder, and maybe even a subfolder there, and save. Okay, so let me minimize Sibelius, and we'll come back here to our PhotoScore. And now we've still got a little bit of maintenance to do in PhotoScore to clean this up and get ready for our next project. Down here in the bottom, we've got our red page, and you'll see here there's a Remove button. So we want to click on that, and it'll toggle to keep. And then we'll go up to the File menu and select Close Score. That'll remove the red pages, and it's going to move the scanned image, or the PDF in this case, up into the pending pages. To remove this from pending pages, it's a little tricky. You're going to need to hover over it, and then just to the left of where it says Read, if you click, you'll get a Remove button, and then click on that Remove button again. You'll get a warning that you're about to remove it, and we do want to do that, so we'll click Yes, and that will remove the image. And now we've got a clean slate, and we're ready to start another project. So let's go up here and try a slightly more complicated score. And we're going to grab this James Bond Brass Quartet. And it happens to be 5 pages, and we're going to grab all 5 pages. We'll do the whole project. And you'll see here under Pending Pages, we have each page of the PDF is a separate graphic, and we need to go through each one and make sure that the staves have been detected and read each page. So just start with page 1. And you'll see here that none of the staves have been detected. So first thing that we want to do is up in our toolbar, click on Locate Staves and see if PhotoScore can locate the staves. And fortunately, it can. Now, this happens to be an actual score as opposed to a part. And so each system, the different instruments are joined together with these red lines. And it's important that you're seeing the red line, because that means that PhotoScore is going to interpret it as a single system. Let me do a quick edit here. If a staff was incorrectly joined, you can disconnect it by selecting one of the staves, holding down the Alt key and clicking, and that will remove that red line. So if we had this situation here, you see the initial bar line showing up, but it's not highlighted in red. If we read the score from this in this condition, we'd end up with this system as the first system and this group of 3 instruments as the second system, which is not what we want. So to force PhotoScore into recognizing that these 2 staves need to be connected, we can select the top staff, and then we hold down the Alt key and click on the next staff, and that reestablishes the connection. You can do that same procedure, and it basically toggles back and forth. So we've got our staves detected. We can go up and select Read this page. There's 2 workflows that you can use here. Now, we could go and edit this page, but I think I'm going to go through and read all the pages first. So just kind of separating my reading with my editing. So once again, we need to locate the staves on this page. Everything looks good. We'll read it. Page 3, same thing. Page 4, locate staves, read this page. And finally, the last page, locate the staves, read this page. Okay, so now we've read all 5 pages, and they've moved down into our read pages section. And so now we just want to take each one and look for errors. And I don't see any timing errors on page 1, which is kind of nice. It's inserted a common time signature here, and since it's in 4/4, it doesn't really matter. So whether a time signature was here or not, it would still be interpreting it as 4/4. You know, if it said 4/4 or it was blank. So we can ignore that and just leave it. Now, the thing that we will notice is we've got this, quote, B trumpet and mellophone staffs, which are obviously transposing instruments. And the key signature is wrong in both of these cases. So what we want to do is we can select the key signature, go up to our Create menu, key signature, major keys. Now, one thing you do need to know your number of sharps and flats based on the key in order to do this. And 3 sharps would be A major. So now we've got that in, and then to change the mellophone staff, we can go up to Create, Key Signature, Major Keys, D. Oh, and we just changed our first staff to 2 sharps, which isn't what we wanted to do. Brings me up to a very important tip. In PhotoScore, the escape key is your friend. You should get in the habit of using it on a regular basis to deselect objects, because if you've got something selected and you make an edit in PhotoScore, it's going to change the object that's selected, which might not be the one that you wanted. So let me change this back to A major. Now hit the escape key, and then just to show you the other way to do this, I'll hit the escape key a couple times. Nothing's selected. I can go up to create, key signature, major key, D. Cursor will be charged. It's a dark blue, and I can just click here, and it inserts the two sharps. So that takes care of the key signature in that system. Now down in the second system, we have the same problem, and we could just change the key signature here, but PhotoScore makes our life a little bit easier. We can simply select the wrong key signature and delete it. Now this doesn't change it to the key of C. What this does in PhotoScore is changes it to whatever the previous key signature is. So our key signature here in the first bar is going to extend throughout the score anywhere there isn't a key signature notated. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so that's all we need to do on page 1. Let's move on to page 2. Okay, on page 2, we can see that we've got some red lines here in bar 1. So there's a timing error. We've got a little blue dot, or a little blue note, but I can't tell what it is. So let me zoom in. Up here in the toolbar, there's 3 zoom levels available. You can fit the page 100% or 200%. So let's go 200% so we can see what we're doing. And here we can sort of see that the note looks like a 16th note. So whenever I see a 16th note timing error and I've got 8th notes, I'm thinking rhythm dot. And there's a little blob here that might be a rhythm dot. But if you couldn't quite tell, here's a quick trick. You can just select the first note head in the bar and look over on your keypad and make sure that it's matching what you're expecting. So here, what we're looking for is a rhythm dot, and we can just use the right arrow key to move through the notes, looking for problems. And there's our rhythm dot. And just check the other ones. I can use the left key to move back. So there's our dotted note that's a mistake. So we can take that out very easily with just a mouse click. And we'll see here that these 2 notes should be tied, so we can add that in as well. And that fixes the timing error, and your blue note disappears. And we can click zoom to fit page so we can get a better overview of the rest of the page. And so there's no timing errors on page 2 now, but we still have our problem with the key signature. So we can just go through, select, and press the delete key for these incorrect key signatures. And we're done. On to page 3. Okay, page 3, we've got 2 bars with timing errors and very similar, or actually identical rhythms. And like I said before, whenever PhotoScore makes a mistake on a particular rhythm, it often will repeat that elsewhere in the score. So let's go through, before I forget, and take care of our key signatures. Okay, and then let's take a look a little closer. Let's just go up to 100%. Okay, we can look in this bar, and these 2 notes are supposed to be dotted, both dotted quarter notes. And that's an 8th note, and here we have an 8th note, and if I select it, I can see that I have the rhythm dot here at on the keypad, and I can just click that to make it go away. And it should be tied, so that's all good. And I'm guessing, since this is the same rhythm, you're going to have the same problem. Fixed, and we're good to go. On to page 4. Okay, now we pretty much know that we're going to have to change the key signature, so let's do that. And here we've got actually what was the rhythm figure in the first bar. And so I'm going to guess that I need to take the rhythm dot off of that and put in the tie. So that's good. And we've got another timing error here. And looking at the full detail view, I can see that this note is not supposed to be dotted. So if I take the rhythm dot off of the half note, we're good to go. And then I can hit the page zoom and just take a look at the page view, make sure I haven't missed any mistakes. Looks good. Okay, on to page 5. Okay, page 5, we've got some real estate problems here. That's one thing nice about these scalable windows is we can get them out of the way. Floating keypad you can move around. And we'll see here, once again, key signatures need to be removed. And looking at this bar here, we're missing a half note. So to insert that half note, we hit the escape key a couple times. Remember, it's our friend. Select the half note, cursor's charged in blue, and then watch that X in the detailed view. And if we move it up so that it's over the note in the graphic and click, that's going to insert it in the proper place in the score. It's kind of a handy thing to have. I'm going to hit the escape key once, and just hitting it once, that note's still selected. If we happen to miss whenever we clicked in the score, you can use the up and down arrow keys just like you would in Sibelius to change the position of the note. And if you hit the escape key twice, then you're sure nothing's selected. So that looks good. I think we're good to go. Now we can send this to Sibelius. Hopefully we won't have that weird glitch that we had in the last one. I'll click Send to Sibelius. Now we know this is a transposing score because we had to change those key signatures. So whenever we mark this is a transposing score box, by default, it requires you to choose the instruments. So we'll click OK. Okay, and this time this is what we expect to see. This is basically the instruments dialog from Sibelius, and so for each of the staves, we need to assign an instrument. In the middle box, you'll see a find field, and this is a really handy feature where you can just type in the name of the instrument to locate it in the list. So if I type in trump or just trum, I can select the B-flat trumpet and add it to the score. Now you don't actually need to go over here and select staff 2. It's smarter than that. It'll actually add them in the order that you're selecting. So if we type mellow, mellophone in F, add that to the score. And then we had a bass trombone. And finally, a tuba. Oops. Well, if you make a mistake, you can simply select the instrument and remove it. Let's go back to tuba here. And then that come up to tuba. Got to actually select it, Tom. There we go. Now we can add. And so we've got our B-flat trumpet, mellophone, bass trombone, and tuba. And click OK. If Sibelius wasn't open already, it would open up and produce the score. And here you see we have trumpet in B-flat, and it's in our 3 sharps, and mellophones in 2 sharps, and that's carrying through all the systems in the score. So we're in good shape. Now, we might want to do some editing in Sibelius now that it's a living, breathing score. But the first thing we want to do is go to File, Save As, and save it under a more descriptive name. And we call it James Bond. And we don't want to necessarily save it in Neurotron's music pages. So let's go to Document Scores. Save it there. Okay, now, both the trumpet and the mellophone are in bass clef. I'm not sure why, but we can very simply just do some quick edits here. Put the treble clef in. Notice the octave is kind of weird. So we'll triple click and use Control up arrow to put it in a more comfortable range for the trumpet. I'm going to pretend that we don't have a mellophone player, which was probably pretty common in a brass quartet. And let's say we want to change the mellophone to trumpet. We can click Change up here in Instruments, type trumpet in the Find, and we'll do a B-flat trumpet. Click OK. Your cursor will be charged. It'll be blue. And you just want to click outside the initial bar line of the first bar, and this will change it for the whole score. So there we go. Now we've got our trumpet in B-flat. It's in the right clef. It's in the wrong octave. So once again, we can triple click, Control up arrow, and move it into a more comfortable range. And so there's our basic editing, and our parts have already dynamically been created. So we can select trumpet in B-flat here, or tuba, and our parts are already laid out for us. And so now it's just a matter of adding in the text elements like the title and dynamics, those sorts of things.
Hey, Tom?
Yep.
It's Vicki. Just wanted to give you a time check. It's 8:45 right now.
Okay, yeah, we're just about to wrap up.
Great.
So back in PhotoScore, once again, you would remove your red pages by closing the score, and then remove each of the graphics from the top section. So today we've taken a look at PhotoScore's uses, the differences between the Lite and Ultimate versions, a quick tip on setting the preferences to get better results, and we've run through the basic operations of scanning, reading, and editing within PhotoScore, and finally sending our finished document to Sibelius. So, like to open it for questions. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, we got a couple of questions here for you, Tom. Thanks for that presentation. It was great. Here's a question for you. I have a very clear score. Why am I still getting bad results, too many errors?
Okay, there's a couple of possible reasons for that. One thing is if PhotoScore misinterprets the time signature, that'll wreak havoc. You'll end up with tons and tons of errors. And it looks like a really complicated problem, but really, once you correct the time signature, that'll fix it. The other thing is missing bar lines. If it doesn't detect a bar line, that can cause problems throughout the score. The other thing could be if you've got a lot of dotted notes, either rhythm dots or staccato notes. PhotoScore can confuse a rhythm dot with a staccato and vice versa. So those are some things to look for. Beyond that, if it's a really nice looking score and you're getting a lot of errors, try scanning at a lower resolution, actually, rather than a higher one. So a lower dots per inch. Reduce it down to, say, 200 dots per inch. Because if it's a really clean copy, a higher resolution might pick up more extraneous blobs in the image.
Oh, okay.
So some just suggestions there.
Great. Thanks for that. Another one, why are some of my staves showing as 2 lines when they are actually 5 lines? Okay,
that's just a error in detecting the staves that PhotoScore is making. It's interpreting them as a two-line drum staff. And that could be because the resolution on the staff in the scanned image or photocopy isn't good enough for it to pick up. And the first example that we did, where you take the 5-line staff and copy it in there, basically what you would do is delete that 2-line staff, copy one of the detected 5-line staffs, and tweak it a little bit to get it aligned, and you should be good to go.
Oh, okay, great. Just use that Alt-click copy. That's a really good method. You can use that in Sibelius also.
Right.
Yeah, another last question. Every now and then someone may run into this. My Send to Sibelius button is not showing up. What should I do, and can I still get this PhotoScore document into Sibelius?
Well, the answer is yes. The reason why it's not showing up, not too sure. Could be if you install PhotoScore first before you actually have Sibelius installed, that could cause that to happen because you won't have the registry key that's necessary for it to detect Sibelius. But as far as a workaround, very easy. Once you've read your image, edited it, and you're ready to send to Sibelius, all you need to do is go up to File, Save. Save it in the PhotoScore format, which is an OPT file. And then in Sibelius, you can go to File, Open, select that OPT file, and Sibelius will import it without any problem.
Okay, great, yeah. And that's in that scanned music folder there in your documents.
Right.
If you didn't know where that was at. Okay, great. Well, that's all the questions I had here. Unless you had anything else you wanted to go over, I think we still maybe have 5 minutes or so.
No, I think we're good. I'll turn it back over to Vicki.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Tom and John. That was really great. I really appreciate this. It was really an interesting session. I guess the tip for the day is in PhotoScore Lite, escape key is our friend. If we can all remember that, I think that'll help quite a bit. So I think we did get through all the questions, but if anybody has any last-minute questions, feel free to send them through, and we will follow up via email. If you found today's session useful, we'd also suggest a couple additional training options to help you learn even more about Sibelius. If you are looking for some additional background material, our web store has titles available. On version 7, we've got the Sibelius 7 reference guide. We've also got 7.5 reference guide available for sale. In order to purchase those, you can go to shop.avid.com. That's shop.avid.com, and under Services and Training, choose Training Resources, and then you can navigate to the books. Okay, big thanks to everyone for taking time to attend today's Tech Talk webcast. Again, we hope that you enjoyed it and found the information valuable. Please visit our Tech Talk registration page to register for additional sessions. We are adding new sessions frequently, and I believe we've got another Sibelius session coming up fairly soon. So please check on the reg page and sign up for more sessions. And I also wanted to throw it out there that we really want to cover topics that you're interested in and that you want to hear about. So in the next 24 hours, we'll be sending out a survey, and a piece of that survey is just trying to get your feedback on today's session. But the other piece of it is really, we really would love any suggestions that you have on additional topics that you'd like to cover, that you'd like us to cover at a later date. So please take a few minutes to complete the survey. We would really appreciate it. If you've got other additional comments or questions or things that come up after the session has completed, just go ahead and shoot an email to customer.care@avid.com. You see that email address up on the presentation, and that will get to myself and several others, and we'll make sure that we get you an appropriate answer. And also, I just wanted to let you know that the Avid Connect 2015 event will be held at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. I don't know if any of you were at the last event in either NAB or IBC, but they were great. So please go to www.avidcustomerassociation.com and find out more about that event. And that's about it. Again, thanks so much, Tom and John, for the session, and thanks everyone for attending. I hope you all have a great day or evening.